So the work I'll present today is it kind of is part of my PhD research, and it was the final study that I conducted in collaboration with researchers at Leipzig University. And the title, Allometric Modeling for Human Torso Shape Inferred by Geometric Morphometrics, sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is, and I hope that in the next few slides it'll make more sense. So though I'm presenting today, I have to give some credit to my co-authors, both researchers here at Sheffield Hallam, but also at Leipzig University. Without their help, this wouldn't have been possible. So anthropometry literally translates into the study of human body measurement, or the process of taking human body measurement, used extensively in population health assessments and apparel sizing and sport applications. Typically, it's conducted using manual measurement techniques, so using weight scales, height scales, tape measures to get traditional manual measures of height, weight, length, girths, skin folds, all the things that we're familiar with within sport applications, but also health assessments. Obviously, the benefit of these types of measures is that they're very easy to acquire, but they are limited in terms of the information that they can provide to the practitioner. In response to this, or kind of in more recent years, there have been developments of 3D imaging devices or 3D scanners. These devices are capable of capturing very detailed and accurate measures of the human body. However, in the majority of research and practice in using these devices, they're not really used to their full potential. They tend to extract these same simple length and girth measures that you acquire using the simple manual tools. So therefore, you've basically got yourself a very expensive tape measure. So in parallel to anthropometry, there is also a field study called morphology. Morphology refers to the form of living organisms in relation to their function. So living organisms that could be plants, as this image shows, but it could be animals, and obviously humans being one of those. Morphology can relate to internal morphology, so your internal structure, but also external morphology, which can relate to your external shape, your external contours, curvatures on the outside of the body. And as interest in this area has developed in fields such as evolutionary biology, anthropology, a group of methods has been developed referred to as geometric morphometrics. So this is an approach founded in something called shape theory, which removes non-shape variation from data in order to analyze the shape of an object or of a biological organism, according to something called the Procrustes paradigm. So you've heard me refer to shape a lot of times already in this presentation, so I think it makes sense to define what shape is. So the mathematical definition is the geometric information that's left when you remove, or when differences attributable to translations, rotations, dilations have been removed from an object. So in plain English, that's location, rotation, and scale. So once those have been removed, you're then analyzing pure shape. So in order to demonstrate what that means, so I'd take this is a 3D body scan, just a 2D image of a 3D body scan. So no matter where on the screen I put this 3D body scan, the shape of the object has not changed. Similarly, if I rotate it on the screen, the shape stays exactly the same. And finally, if I make it very big, the shape is still the same. And this definition holds when you're analyzing differences between two different objects. So a very simple example, two skulls that have had three marks digitized on them. So to represent them as triangles here on this panel here. So following those same procedures that we just talked about, so if we find the centroid of these two landmark configurations, center them on the same point, we remove differences in location, scale them to the same size, we remove differences according to scale. And if we remove any rotational differences between the two triangles, we're analyzing pure shape differences between these configurations. And that's the process or procedures that we've kind of worked with, or that I worked with throughout my PhD. And finally, allometry, so the first word in that long title, refers to relationships between the size and shape of objects or organisms, and is one of the dominant factors of morphological variation within morphological variation. Most commonly, you analyze this using multivariate regression of shape onto a measure of size, which allows you to not only characterize the expected changes in body size per increase in body changes in shape per unit increase in body size, but also identify the unexpected changes or the non-allometric variation in body shape, known as using a process called size correction. So though this has been used in lots of studies in other fields, it's never really been used from an anthropometric perspective, so analyzing the shape of the human body. So this study was building on initial work that we've done previously, where we've been able to develop and demonstrate using methods of measuring human body shape. However, our previous sample only had 43 participants. So the main focus of this study was to investigate those allometric relations between size and shape, but to characterize individuals within a much larger cohort. So determining those interdependencies between size and shape, but also identifying the non-allometric unexplained variations in shape that you can't identify using traditional techniques. So as stated, we were able to form a collaboration with Leipzig University, who granted us access to their live adult cohort, which has phenotype data of over 10,000 individuals collected in the city of Leipzig in Germany. And so for this study, we analyzed 3D imaging data and body measures of 9,209 participants, almost equal distribution between males and females within our sample. And so the methodology we used, so we focused primarily on the torso segment shown on the image on the left, and using a series of analytical procedures developed in that previous study, we extract the 3D imaging data of the torso, we scale, rotate, and remove all non-shape variation. We then extracted transverse data profiles along the length of the torso segment, obtained the signal waveforms from each of those profiles, which enabled us to extract frequency content. And then finally, when we have our raw shape data, as I'd class it, we then performed a principal component analysis to identify the maximal variation within our sample of body shape. The results of which are shown here. So these images show the first 9 principal components of torso shape variation that we were able to identify within our sample. So the initial analysis, it had males and females all together, but from difference testing, we were able to identify that males and females were significantly different. So all subsequent analysis was conducted with males and females separate. But you can see just from these initial visuals that we were able to see lots of these shape variations seem to be differentiating between males and females, but we've got asymmetrical variations on the anterior and posterior aspects of the torso. But all of these are scale invariant variations as well. Using partial least squares regression, we were able to create, or I was able to create an allometric model. So what this graph shows is size described as waist girth along the x-axis, and changes in each of those identified shape principal components along the y-axis. And as we move along the x-axis, so as size increases, according to our allometric model, body shape is expected to change in that way. So this is for male participants, and similarly for females. As size increases, shape is predicted to change in the following way. So though these models are good in that we're able to see how shape is expected to change with size, what we can also do from the results of our allometric analysis is identify non-allometric or the unexplained shape variations. And this is kind of the interesting information that we were trying to draw out. So as a quick example, so according to our allometric model, a male participant with a waist girth of 100 centimeters would be predicted to look like this in terms of their external shape. However, from observed individuals within our sample, all of these individuals had a measured waist girth of 100 centimeters. But as you can see, they quite clearly are different in their external shape information. And so obviously, currently we are not 100% sure what these variations in external shape represent. But our hypothesis for future work is that we think that these external shape variations are as a result of changes in your internal structure or your so distributions of fat, distributions of lean mass as well, all of which have potential cardiometabolic health risks and potential health issues, and that is the direction which our future research is going. So in terms of this study, we also demonstrate our analytical procedure for characterizing variations in human torso shape. We identified the allometric scale and relationship, so how size and shape are related, but also we were able to identify non-allometric variations, so the variations that can't be explained by existing techniques. However, there was a distinct lack of ethnic diversity within our sample. That was obviously by design, since it was a population-based study within the city of Leipzig. So we couldn't criticize them too much for that, but it gives us some scope for future work to try and increase the amount of ethnic diversity in our future samples to see if the findings of this research hold across the general population. And we only analyzed size and shape measures, whereas within the life cohort, there are additional variables available, so visceral fat volume, diabetes information, and those are the kinds of studies we hope to conduct in future as well. So as I said, we want to investigate relationships between these body shape measures that we are able to extract and cardiometabolic risk factors, fat distributions. We want to extend our current methods to enable assessment of the whole body, so not just the torso segment. And the hope is in future, can we develop low-cost tools which enable practitioners to extract this same shape information, but not be reliant on high-cost, high-accuracy 3D scanners, but can we use 3D smartphone-based camera apps? Can we develop a new manual tool that can extract the same shape information? That's where we want to get to in the future to enable this kind of analysis to be rolled out, on large population-based scale. So again, just to extend my thanks to the Leipzig Research Center for Civilization Diseases, who gave us access to the dataset. We are continuing to work with these partners to do some of the work that I've just described. There's a list of references if any of you are interested to read up more on this. And do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mike. I think probably the best thing to do is to stop sharing your screen right now so we can see if anyone has their hand up. Perfect. Are there any questions? Dr. Barnes?
Hi, yeah, thanks very much, Mike. That's really interesting. Some very clever stuff. I guess the most important question for me is about the application of this, and I think you hinted at it at the end, but how is this going to kind of help in terms of healthcare? What's the goal to be able to predict risk based on body shape? So I guess something that's very simple like waist circumference is obviously a very quick and easy tool, which gives us a kind of a very quick indication of what some of the risk factors might be. So where does this fit into that kind of application?
So I would say this is more of it complements these measures, because obviously if the existing measures had no value, they wouldn't have been using them for the last 100 years. They obviously they have some value and they provide some information, but what we're saying is that there is additional information about the outside of the body which these traditional measures don't capture. So it can be used in all the same applications that you've just mentioned. So identification of diabetes risk, or as a proxy of internal fat distribution as well. So as opposed to having to go for a DEXA scan or a CT scan, which has potentially harmful radiation risk, you could just have at the moment, or you could have a 3D body scan, and potentially there'd be relationships between those shape measures and distributions of fat. Would be one application, but I don't see it as as a new body composition measure, but it's more of a health risk indicator that we could use this information for, is the primary application, I would say.
Thank you.
I've got one later.
Yeah,
that's okay. Thanks, Mike. It's really interesting. Mine's a really simple question, because I was following it, and then when you had that animation where you had like as it moved to the right on size, and you talked about what a normal shape should look like, and I just missed how do you use that data to determine, because then you came up with the 2 sort of 50 percentiles. How do you actually determine what is that normal shape? So then you do all your comparisons to. So
it wasn't to say that was normal shape, but that was just to say that from the results of the regression model that I created, kind of the average shape, you could call it. So as size increases, according to the regression model, that is what you expect the shape of a male or a female torso shape to change. But also that because of the unexplained errors within your regression model, there will be variations around that average that the model isn't explaining. That wasn't to say that those expected changes were of a normal shape.
Could you just share your slide again, if that's possible? Sorry, later. Is it easy just to go quickly to that? Have we got time? Did you say there's only one more later?
Yeah, we have time. It's fine.
Okay. Could you just go back to that slide? The one that then animate. Okay. Yeah. So and then will it animate? Right.
So that is just.
It's subtly different. Yeah. No, Mike. I thought my memory was that the left-hand side and the right-hand side were really similar. That's maybe where I was going. I was trying to understand then what the one in the middle, how the one in the average then appears. Mm-hmm. But now I can see it now. Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Okay. I've just been dazzled.